Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I just want to bring you a quick endgame guide, just how I geared and what I think is probably the most optimal way for a newer player. I do want to say I stream over on Twitch from 10 p.m. Eastern to about 2 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. So if you're interested, come check that out. And if anybody's interested in getting on the same server, we are on Rosa. If you're a newer player and you're mainly focused on PvE, I would highly suggest Rosa. This is where a lot of the older PvEers from like Valhalla and stuff went. So there's plenty of people here. But other than that, I hope you enjoy the video and have a good day. For this part, if you're a returning player and you're experienced with mutations, you understand the mechanics and everything, I would recommend that you could do what I did. I came to the trading post as soon as I hit 65, got my Attuned leather pants from the Elysian Wild storyline. I came here, typed in 675 with Enchanted Ward. They were a little bit more expensive back when it launched because obviously the pieces just weren't there. It should be fairly cheap now if you're just looking for 675 as the minimum. So like you can see some of these pieces for Enchanted Ward, you know, they're not the best pieces, but they are Enchanted Ward nonetheless. And having Enchanted Ward on your armor will increase the likelihood that it drops during the dungeon run. But this is only if you're experienced. If you do not know the mechanics of the dungeons, I would not recommend just jumping straight into M2s or anything, because it's just, you're going to make it harder on yourself and on your teammates. Now I want to go over what I believe newer players should be doing. So to access mutations at the base level, you need to be 650 gear score, so you can get there pretty easily. And for this, you don't need Enchanted Ward for M1s. This is just the base where you're going to start. This is where you're going to start getting your gear. Your ultimate goal is to get to M2 as quick as possible, though, because that's where you're going to get, you know, the more named drops. They're not technically named drops, but you can only get them from M2s and up for most dungeons for like amulets and stuff. So your goal is to learn the mechanics on M1. And then once you feel comfortable and once you get to 675 gear score, because that's the baseline, is bump it up to M2. There is one very important thing I would like to talk about. So when you're at the end of your mutation and you're opening up the chests at the end, what you should be doing is if you have a certain piece, like a weapon or something that you want to run, but you don't have like it's not the best version, so you're running something else. What you should be doing at the end is swapping to whatever that is. So like, let's say, you know, for what I do, so usually I'm running Spear Hatchet or Spear Great Axe, whatever. I will usually switch to my PvP set when I'm opening chests because I'm more likely to get, you know, these perks and these weapon perks and armor perks in those chests. So the loot biasing is really good. Make sure you're doing that. And the other thing is when you're during your dungeon run, make sure you have your magnify set to whatever attribute you would most likely like to have. Most of your random drops during the dungeon are going to drop based on whatever the magnify is. It's not whatever your highest is. It is what your magnify is set to. So make sure this is set correctly. If you want strength, make sure you set it to strength. You want dex, make sure it's on dex. Just make sure this is set correctly. All right, so once you're done with M1s, you learn the mechanics, you think you're ready for M2. Cool, go ahead and advance up. Just make sure you're putting opals in your jewelry and in your armor. This is going to help with survivability a lot. The damage does start to ramp up on M2 from the elemental stuff, or the elemental side of things. So recommend opals. And if you have an amulet with the correct protection for the dungeon, it is also very nice. It's not necessarily, you don't have to have it, but like let's say you're doing a fire dungeon, flame protection's good. You're doing a ice dungeon, frozen protection's good. If you have it, cool. If not, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, you definitely want opals on M2. The one thing I do want to go over from an item perspective, and what you should be looking out for, if you're looking at gear specifically for yourself, you really shouldn't be keeping anything if it does not have Enchanted Ward for PvE specifically. You'll see here, every piece I have, except for the Attuned leather pants, has Enchanted Ward, just because the pants cannot get Enchanted Ward. They already have Ellie aversion on it as a perk, and I added Bleeding Sweep, but you cannot get Enchanted Ward on these. So I'm only at 4 Enchanted Ward, but that's perfectly fine. Another thing I wanted to cover quickly is when you're looking at your pieces to see if you're going to keep them, make sure you're also looking to see if they are bind on equip, bind on pickup, or bound to player. If they're bind on equip on M2, sometimes you can get higher gear score stuff, and it's always worth trying to sell. Any piece that you can sell, you know, 50 gold is more than 3 that you get from scrapping it. So if you put it on the post, it sells for 50, cool. You know, right now, the higher the gear score, the better. People have this weird idea that a super high gear score is like hella important when it's just really not. Like this hatchet probably shouldn't have sold for 5k, but it did. This hatchet's really, really bad. But yeah, so, you know, 8k, 5k, 8k, you know, 15k on these. So just always make sure you're checking for BOE pieces to sell. Okay, outside of getting gears to drop, just doing your normal dungeon runs. Let's say you have a certain piece that you're really, you know, just having terrible luck getting it to drop. You know, like this piece for me. I could not get medium boots to drop for the life of me, and I really needed the piece, so I ended up crafting these at the kiln. Now, obviously, luck is not the ideal third perk. But if you, as you're doing your dungeons and you're opening your crates for beating them, you're going to get this dense mutator materia. You can come over to the kiln, and if you want light pieces, you're going to be looking for the Azoth. They are down here. Like if you need a shirt, Azoth crystal shirt, whatever you need. So just make sure you're checking the weight up here. You know, if you need light or medium. But these are going to be some of your best pieces you can craft because they already have Enchanted Ward and Refreshing on them. So they do take a while. You know, if you're only doing M1s, it's going to take a minute to get up here to 3,500 to craft them. I believe if you're doing M3s, you get 500 for silver, 350 for bronze, and like 700 for gold. So you can craft them pretty quick once you're up to M3s. And M2s give a decent amount too. But if you're just missing one piece, look towards the kiln to crafting them. You know, there's some pretty good stuff you can use it on. The ring here isn't bad if you're missing a damage one, but again, it is a high gamble of whether you're going to get what you want or not. And then obviously, most people already know this, but if you're a tank and you're looking for stuff, you can also just craft the I can't spell. You can also craft the Frigid Dawn pieces here for your materia if you're a tank. I also wanted to cover what is probably the best PvE DPS artifact, and that is the Attuned leather pants, just because of the sheer stats that it gives you. You get 40 when it's only 700. You don't get 45, but you'll get 40, and you get 10 here instead of 11. But these are easily the best pants that you can have. Now, depending on whatever build you're going, I went Bleeding Sweep because I'm running a main Enfeebling Spear, so I just put Sweep on the pants. Now, if you're going like Rapier, you could always throw like Leeching Flurry on these or Omni Evade, depending on what other pieces you already have. I would probably go Leeching Flurry just because, you know, Omni Evade, if you're not Evade or Evade Bleed, you're not going to be running Omni. So I would probably throw Leeching Flurry on them if you're Rapier. But yeah, I just wanted to showcase these real quick because these are the artifact most people are going to be using. And the other thing to note with these is if you are using these, make sure you're medium boots. You go medium boots and then you stay light for everything else just to get you closer to the highest threshold you can be for armor. Are light boots on me to showcase it? Oh yeah, I do right here. So if I put on these light boots, you'll notice it goes down by 1.1. So I would recommend putting medium boots on as well. One thing I really want to showcase that I see a lot of people typing in chat when they're looking for Gorgon is like X DPS and they'll put their gear score. I just want to highlight that gear score isn't really that big of a deal. Once you're past 695, you're close to 700. It's so incremental on what you're going to get. So like we'll take a look at this spear, for example. Let me redo my stats real quick just so it actually looks correct. I'll eat food as well just so it's not skewed. Okay, so this is my normal setup right here, 50 int, 350 strength if I'm main spear. Okay, now you look at this, the base damage on it, 2013, pretty decent, you know. And then if you look at this spear, that's 700. It's 1894. Now you think it's like what 19 base damage, which I get. It is a damage loss, but the content is made to be done at 700 or around there. You know what I mean? So it's not that big of a deal if you're underleveled. I know some groups are super strict about it for absolutely no reason. I mean, we did Hive on day one on legacy servers. Yeah, we already have gear, but we were not over 700 already. You know what I mean? So you don't need to have this extra gear, and I wish this stigma that the higher the gear score, just the better off you are, because it's just untrue. Once you're at 695, 700, it's kind of irrelevant. You know, even for your armor, you're only going to gain a little bit of armor from being 725 compared to 700. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I just want to quickly showcase like what your gear should basically be looking like once you're at endgame, more or less. This is when your build is, you know, you're kind of barely getting it, you know, it's already made. You're just kind of fleshing it out with, you know, 1 or 2 perks here and there that can make it better. So again, it's full Enchanted Ward, and health is really good in PvE as well. It's not as good as PvP, but PvE I would definitely recommend it still. So you're going to see health, or not health, but Enchanted Ward on all the pieces. These pieces you can upgrade, but I just kind of chose not to. I'm not too worried about having health on everything. Again, we are using the Attuned leather pants, and then we do have medium boots just to keep us in the higher armor. Then for our weapons, we are using the raid weapons. Realistically, I could probably be using like Sin here. That might be a little bit better, but I'm too lazy to go farm it and upgrade it, so I just use the normal hatchet. I need to upgrade this as well still. I'd probably put Keen Berserk on this, but and then my protections, you know, whatever I'm doing. I was doing Tarn, so I have an Ice Amulet here. My ring, this is from the raid. I added thrust damage to it, and then my earring is just a higher one that had Empowering Toast and Refreshing Toast. So this is kind of what your gear is going to start to look like towards the end game. Now that we went over the gear, I just want to showcase the importance of the gems when you're getting into the mutations. So whenever you're trying to figure out what gems you should have slotted, you can go to the activities, you can go to the mutations, and you can see here, if you click on it, it's going to show you over here. So now they always have like a secondary one, but the main is going to be nature for this one. This one's going to be fire, and then the final one is going to be void. So I want to cover the 4 gems you're mainly going to be using. Sometimes you'll use like Jasper or Moonstone for some of the bosses, but for the main ones, you're going to be looking for fire. You're going to be looking for rubies. For nature, you're going to be using ambers. For frozen, you're going to be using aquamire, and for void, you're going to be using amethyst. Now, you want to make sure you're slotted for M3s, that you're slotted in full protection. Now, mine's a little off here just because this should actually be an ice gem. I don't know why I have this changed, but this should be an ice gem to be full. So you're going to be at 62% or 63% resistance for that element. If you're not, if you're not full resistance, it's going to be really, really rough. Now, as you can see over here for my sets, this is for Tarn this week. So for the bosses, you still want to ice set. So this is, oh, that's why I have it. I have the strike gem for the troll boss. But this is for bosses, and this is for my main. Now I'm going to be missing 12% void resistance because of my gems, but that's just, that's just kind of how it is. I don't want to have to switch these gems all the time out of these 2 pieces because they're shared per the set, because I don't have another thrust damage ring. And obviously these are an artifact. You can only have 1. So I'm going to be missing a little bit, but that's okay. As long as you're around 50, you should be okay. But if you can maximize it, I would 100% maximize it. The last thing I want to mention for this video is that if you are applying in the group finder for dungeons for M3s, and you find yourself getting rejected and you just don't know why, they're not messaging you or anything, I would look at your con. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily need to be, 5 con or 15 con, whatever. You can have like 50-ish, if you're not, if you're just getting used to it and everything. But for the most part, if when people apply for my groups and they have over like 50 con, it generally makes me think they don't really know what they're doing, or they're just not comfortable with it. So maybe, if I don't have time and I'm just trying to do a quick run, I might not accept them. Whatever, maybe that's elitist. I don't know. I don't really care. That's just how I view it. The more con you have, that's just substituting for your lack of, skill or knowledge, So again, when you're learning, I would say 50 con is fine. I'm not going to, dog anybody for having 50 con when they're newer. It makes sense. You can at least survive some hits. Not to say that I'm a professional at this game by any means, but that's just the way I view it. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that if you find yourself getting rejected, I would maybe take a look at your con. All right, if you made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you for watching it all the way through. I'm contemplating putting out a full spear guide because that's my main for M3s. So if you are interested in that, let me know in the comments. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a great day.